effects that are on the gradient map adjustment layer to create sort of multi-toned images. So with an RGB image open, we're going to go down to the bottom of the layers palette, and I'm just going to drag it out from that panel locking area so that we can see the options. Come down to the Create New Fill Adjustment icon, the black and white circle at the bottom of the layers palette, and select Gradient Map, which is in that third panel of the pop-out window. And when that pops open, if you need to create a custom gradient, then click in the window, the preview window. If you just need to select a gradient you already have or to load a gradient in, you can just select this little downward triangle and it will just open up the palette window here. And I'm just going to scroll down and choose Mama's Embers over here and pop that on like that and click Dither and look at the image here. And I may want to add a levels adjustment layer, and you can do that on the top of the gradient map or underneath. I'm going to go underneath, so I'll highlight the background layer so that the levels adjustment will pop in sandwiched between the gradient map and the background. So again, click on the Create New Fill Adjustment icon. We'll choose Levels, and we'll just move that middle gamma slider over to the left a bit to brighten up those midtones, and I'm going to click OK. Click back on this gradient map, and let's add another one so that we can create a multi-toned image. What I'm going to do here, the technique I'm going to use, is using a complementary gradient map. And what I mean by that is that the dominant color is going to fall opposite on the color wheel from what we have here. So you ask yourself the question, you say this is kind of orange, what's opposite orange, blue, or purple? So I'm going to come down here to, again, gradient map, and click on the picker window and find a gradient where the dominant color falls opposite. And I'm going to choose the blue tone, Shan's blue tone. You can download these old tones from shanscan.com in that tutorial section, and I'm going to click OK. Now what I'm going to do is invert the mask that is on the gradient map. It's called Gradient Map 2 now because it's the second gradient map I've applied. I'm just going to invert that to black by pressing lower opacities. Again, this is a subjective thing where you're going to have to kind of play with it. Maybe I'll take it down to about 50%. And I'm going to paint with white, so I need to come over here and switch the default colors. If your default colors are not showing here, just press the letter D and then the letter X to switch so that white is the foreground color. The masking mantra throughout Photoshop is white reveals and black conceals. White is going to reveal the set of instructions on Gradient Map 2, which is that blue to white gradient. And I'm going to just pick some selective areas in the image to paint with that. So I'm just going to come down here and paint over her jacket. I may even go up a little bit higher here. I may go to 100%. Why not? Just to show you the full effect. Because this is on its own layer, I can paint it 100% and then lower the opacity via the layer itself from the Layers palette. So let me just pop in some of this color on selected areas. And I can come back and clean up that overspray by hitting the X key. And when I paint with black, that's going to clean up that overspray. Okay. I like to lay down color with the big fat airbrushes. It is more like an airbrush when you do that. I'm going to do her lips too. Now we're not done. This is not the final effect, don't worry. We're going to make this opposite color, this complementary color, actually blend quite nicely with the tones that we've applied. I'm going to do Command minus here so I can see the whole image. Get a big brush and maybe put some of these colors over here just to try and balance it out. Leaving it in the normal mode initially is is probably a good idea just so that you can get a cleaner reveal area of the different color. So I'm just painting on that mask of Gradient Map 2 at 100%. And if I want to lower it later, I can via the Layers palette. But again, you work any way that you're comfortable with. Okay, once I have that done, what we're going to do is lower the opacity of this layer that we put the mask on just a little bit and experiment with the blending modes. Now I'm going to come right down here to where it says difference, and notice how that looks very garish at 72%, but watch what happens when I lower this blending mode, how it blends really nicely in an analogous way, analogous meaning next to the color on the color wheel or close to it, when you lower the opacity. So we've created a multi-toned image by virtue of using some masking here. Now let's add another little softening technique that you can use on images, and what we're going to do for that is temporarily, and we may end up using it permanently, I'm going to add another levels adjustment layer. So this is going to come in on top of that Gradient Map 2, and I'm going to brighten the entire image up significantly when I do this. So it's just like it's a little overexposed, and I'm going to click OK. And then we're going to create a composite layer. This is going to be a pixel layer that is going to put a layer thumbnail of the exact state of the image window, how this image window looks right now, but it's going to be on an amount of Gaussian blur. But before we do that, I find it's helpful to put it in the multiply blending mode. So I'm going to just put it in multiply right now so it darkens up the image again, and then go to filter, blur, and Gaussian or Gaussian blur depending on where you are in the world. And you want to blur it, it's a subjective thing, but if I just blur it, say a little bit, it just looks like it's blurred. But you've got to find the sweet spot, and usually it's between 15 and 30. If you go too far, it just kind of flattens out the whole image. But if we come back down here, you want to find that nice sweet spot where it looks like a soft focus effect. Now I'm at about 20 here, and that looks good to me. And I'm going to click OK. And you can lower the opacity of this softening layer if you like. You can also experiment with some other blending modes, but it may negate the softening portion of it. We'll go down to, say, soft light, and it gives it more contrast and it brightens it up. And overlay does the same thing, more saturation. Still a little bit of that softening is showing through. But if you try some of these other blending modes, it's basically going to keep the sharpness in or give you different effects. Darken kind of pulls out outlines like a sketch. Let's see what color burn does. That really saturates it. But in multiply mode, you get that little bit of softening effect. Click the visibility on and off so you can see that glow. Now another thing you can do with this, and I'm going to duplicate this layer just to show you. So I'm going to hit Control J on a PC, Command J on a Macintosh, and I'm going to shut that original blurred layer off. Let me just name that blurred. And to this one, I am going to desaturate the color blurred layer. And you can do that by going under Image, Adjustments, and right down to Desaturate, or use Shift Control U on a PC, Shift Command U on a Macintosh. And so with the desaturation, you get a different effect as well. And experiment with blending modes in this state when it's down to grayscale. You can put it in overlay mode, and that gives you a very high contrast image and a little bit of glow on it. And soft light blending mode too. I kind of like the overlay on that. And combine layers. You know, look at everything and decide what is going to float your boat, as it were, gives you a nice image. Now there's other editability things that you can do here. For example, on this blurred layer, if I wanted to brighten it up a bit too, I could apply levels directly to it if I wanted to bring out some more lightness in the midtones or shadows. So you can go under Image, Adjustments, and this is affecting the pixel layer directly. We could come in here and visually see how changes would affect the image overall. So if we wanted to brighten it up, we would move that gamma slider to the left and maybe the white point slider to the left. Or if we wanted to darken it up, move the gamma to the right, move the black point to the right, but that kind of plugs up the shadows. But again, it's subjective. What type of effect are you going for? And if this doesn't improve your image, just click cancel. But if you see something you like, then click OK. I'm just going to click cancel